Welcome to what is the name of the show? I always forget.
Democracy 2.0.
Democracy 2.0, heard on
And you just,
malcolmpresents.com, the a streaming portal into the new world of Zoom casting. Anyway, and this is Malcolm Berman, who is your co-host with Wayne Bouchard. Don't pronounce the last D. Hey, Wayne, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Malcolm?
Not bad for a man my age. Anyway, explain to me what's happening in the House of Rep.
Let me see. I got to get my screen squared away here. All of a sudden, oh, there you go. There we go.
Yeah.
I got you.
You're perfect, so as usual.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't make sense in what's happening.
Well, it's obvious that the system is broken. But on one hand, you can say that, well, the system is broken. We got 20 people that are holding the rest of the House of Representatives hostage. But on the other hand, you could say, well, this is democracy at work. Democracy is not always a pleasant process. Sometimes it's very, very messy. That's one way to look at it.
And
You
the
know,
other way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what's the other way of looking at it?
Well, it's embarrassing. Yeah, I think it's embarrassing for the Republicans to start out their new year this way. Obviously, it's embarrassing for the country as a whole. We're on the world stage and everyone's looking at us, and we can't seem to put two and two together and come up with four. So, and a small group of insurgents, if you will, are holding the rest of the hostage, or holding the Congress hostage. And I heard them called, they're the arsonist caucus. They want to burn down the Congress.
Yeah, I think the right name is the gang that couldn't shoot straight.
Yeah. As I
I
said, it's embarrassing on the world stage. Also, if there were to be any sort of, diplomatic crisis, we don't have a single committee chairman in the House of Representatives.
Who is running the House now? Who's the one that gavels it to attention or whatever?
The clerk.
The clerk?
Clerk. Yep.
I know there's no chairman.
The House.
There's no speaker.
There's no speaker. The only thing that the House can do is vote on the speaker. That is the first order of business of the House, and that's probably why that they always have their ducks in a row. I mean, listen, the election was held in November.
Right. Why couldn't they caucus?
Republicans knew they were going to be the majority party a couple of days after the election.
Even if they didn't know till November, till December, they still had a month.
They still had plenty of time to organize and come up with a viable plan to elect a speaker, which is the first order of business. In reality, there are people voting for the speaker who aren't even, they're congressmen elect. They have not been sworn in yet.
Right. So technically, how can they vote?
I'm not sure about that. I would have to. I'm assuming that's laid out in the Constitution that the speaker will be elected by the elected representatives.
But are they considered elected representatives or?
That's the only way it could be. It's the only way it could be. Let's look at, how else would they, it has to be worded that way. I would have to look it up in the Constitution.
Yeah, I wonder if it's in the Constitution or it's some sort of laws that were before the Constitution or after the Constitution, and they had it. How many original reps were there in the first?
Don't know.
If anybody's out there that's well, actually, I probably know it with Google. Let's see.
You could probably look it up on Google. Yeah, there are 435 members of the House of Representatives. And
How many representatives were in the original House of Reps? Let's see. The first session of the House of Representatives came to order in Federal Hall, New York City on March 4th, 1789, with only 3 members present. Well, excuse me, 13 members present.
They had to travel a long way.
Yeah.
One from each colony.
Based on the 1787 national population, each House member in the first Federal Congress represented 300,000 citizens. 300. I'm going crazy. 30,000 citizens.
Today, I think it's 750,000.
But I have a question for you. Now, when they have the vote, I know it's from previous votes. Everybody is hooked up electronically, right? They can press a button and.
No, they call the roll.
Yeah, I know, but they can press the button, can't they? And
yes, but
so
they,
why are they going each time? It's almost like a waste of time. They're calling the roll for 400 and whatever reps.
435.
400. Why do they have to call the roll each time? Why can't they say press your button, and then the clerk?
Not sure why.
And
Not
and,
sure.
and then at the beginning, when they nominate, with each new round, they nominate somebody. They go through the same bull. The guy said, and I'm nominated and commit, and they do the same thing and it's a waste. I mean, it's a waste of time.
Well, every time they nominate somebody, it's usually a different person who's making the speech.
Right, but it's a waste of time. I don't care who's making the speech. I want to see who's nominated, and then I want to see the number of votes. And then it could be 5 minutes after, instead of going through the roll.
Sometimes, Malcolm, democracy is messy.
Yeah, or democracy is archaic. It seems all the ones who make the nominations, to me, they're just pontificating something because they want their name on national TV. And
well, let's talk about the 20 people that are causing all the problems.
Well, the only one that I know that's thing is Matt Gaetz, who was supposing to be kicked out 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think he's been exonerated
because of conflict of interest.
I think he's been exonerated.
Well,
I'm not exactly sure, but this whole thing, the Republicans have brought this whole mess upon themselves. It started, you can trace it back to Sarah Palin. She was, her whole motivation was to be disruptive. And then of course we got Donald Trump, who just was disruption in spades. They want to create chaos. That's what they live for. Their performance in front of national television is more important than their competence. And that's been proven over and over again. And their main objective is to disrupt things and annoy the hell out of the liberals.
Well, the thing is that which I didn't realize, that with each group that comes in, they set their own ruls and regulations. Yes. And now the thing is the concessions that Kevin is making Kevin McCarthy is making, sort of like with make them completely inoperable, for the next 2 years.
Correct.
Especially supposedly, I don't know. There's a committee of 7 that would have to, give the approval for bringing a bill aboard, introducing a new bill, and needed a majority with the Democrats. So it would be 4-3, to pass the bill. Now it just needs one dissenter to stop the bill. So that means almost any Democratic bill that would come up that was favored by the Dems would be vetoed down. It would never hit the floor.
Well, here again, Malcolm, their whole thrust in this effort is to make a spectacle of everything. They're there not to govern. They're there to, for the fame, the power, the influence, and whatever control they can get over the Republican Party. The Republicans created these people.
Well,
they allowed these people to exist. What do you think? Today, Marjorie Taylor Greene criticized Lorraine Boebert for not being a serious congressperson.
I wonder if she.
About calling the kettle black.
I wonder if she considered Lorraine Bobbitt for doing her. Lorraine Bobbitt wasn't the one who castrated her husband and threw that.
No. That's a different person.
Oh, okay. I thought she was elected to the House.
So over the years, these people have become acceptable. They're the fringe has become acceptable. Is it an accident that almost all of these people are election deniers?
Right.
Is that an accident?
If they have it their way, there's never going to be any legislation passed in the next 2 years.
They don't. Malcolm, I don't believe that any of them know even how to pass a piece of legislation. Their entire objective is to go in there and grab headlines.
Well, they know how to block legislation. See, the thing is, I understand that originally, say the Republicans and Democrats, the way they differed, one was for big business controlling, one was for government controlling. But for many years prior to Donald Trump, there always had been a compromise. It didn't say because you were for a Republican and wanted big business to control things, it didn't say, oh, you're an idiot.
Right.
It was a difference of opinion. And to me, that's a legitimate difference of opinion. They weren't dealing in personalities.
It was, the unwritten rule was it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to be disagreeable.
Right. Very good. Very good difference.
And this goes back to, Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill. That's the classic example of in the last, couple of generations that everybody holds up. I mean, they could disagree vehemently on any issue, but they were civil to one another.
And what about supposedly those groups? Then they went out to drink with each other.
Yeah, then they went out and had dinner and a few drinks.
Yeah, Tip O'Neill was supposed to be very affable.
Yes.
What I hear.
Yes.
Of course, he never invited me for dinner, which I never forget. I never forgave him for that.
No, nor did he ever invite me to dinner either. But I did eat one time at his favorite restaurant. The story goes. And I'm going to try and remember the name of the restaurant as I tell you the story. O'Neill came home on a routine air flight, and he landed at Logan Airport in Boston, which is right outside of Boston. And the state police met him there, which was customary because they escorted him home. And they said, "Mr. Speaker, there's been a threat against your life." And so we're gonna escort you home, and we're gonna protect you for this evening. And he said, "No, I want you to take me down to Joe Touchy's restaurant. I'll be safe there." This was an Italian restaurant in the south end of Boston. He
was protected.
He knew he would be better protected at the Italian restaurant in Boston than he would be by the state troopers protecting him at his house.
I wonder if that's where Whitey Bulgy ate dinner.
I don't know, but I once ate dinner. There was a small restaurant. A friend of mine named Ray Capone.
Ray Capone.
Ray Capone. He said he was the only Capone in the history of his family that ever paid taxes. But he took me there.
No, you keep good company, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you ran for Congress once, didn't you? Or you ran for the primary?
I ran in a primary for the nomination and lost. Yeah.
How did you like that process? Was it well? How did you raise money?
I had the support of a lot of labor unions at the time. If you remember, we talked earlier that, the Republicans were the party of the business people.
Right.
Always had the endorsement of the Chamber of Commerce and, all business. And the Democrats were the party of the labor unions.
Right. So you had unions behind you.
I had a lot of labor unions behind me, and but I lost the primary. So, I couldn't obviously never got to the House of Representatives,
to the big game, so to speak.
and I after that I chose business over politics.
You chose sanity.
Yeah, I'm not. I've always second guessed myself for probably a lot of years, wondering if I made the right decision.
Well, it's never too late now that you're becoming a medium.
It's funny because I heard today on I was watching the news and someone quoted John Kennedy's inaugural address, and I don't know if you remember this line. I love this line. It was something to the effect of let the world know, or let the word go forth that he who foolishly rides the back of the tiger will end up inside.
That I don't remember.
Oh, a great line.
The line I remember from his inauguration is that's not what the country.
And somebody said that about Kevin McCarthy today, because he's been trying to please everybody.
Well, if he gets nominated, number one, I guess he's elected. If he gets elected speaker, he'll have no power.
No, none at all. And they'll throw him out.
Yeah, not if he's giving all those concessions.
Someone raised the question this afternoon. I wonder who gets Kevin's car. I wonder who he gave that to.
Well, does the speaker get a car?
I don't know. I would imagine they
probably. My next question.
Escorted around by a limousine.
Why are they voting for Democrats also?
I think it's just a matter of routine, just so that they have somebody to vote for.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the guy? The guy who's going to take over from Pelosi?
Hakeem Jeffries. He's a Democrat from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Now the question is, if he gets over the amount of votes, but he can't be elected speaker. But it's very, very similar. I mean, he got like 200 and something votes. And
right. 212.
212. So if he gets some Republicans that say, okay, for the spite of it, give him another 20 votes. But it means nothing.
Why?
I don't think he could become speaker, even if he got the votes.
Sure he can. Whoever gets 218 votes becomes the speaker.
So it doesn't matter if he's a Democrat?
Doesn't matter. He doesn't even have to be a member of the House of Representatives.
So how does he vote?
He doesn't.
No,
speaker doesn't have a vote if you're not a member.
And this is confusing. Actually, that would be fun. That never happened. Can you imagine if Jeffries becomes Speaker of the House?
Well, there has been discussion, and this would be democracy at its best. Let's say that the 203 or whatever members let's say 200 members of the Republican Party try to make a deal with 25 Democrats about some key pieces of legislation, some things that are really important to the Democrats. And if the Republicans would support those key pieces of legislation if the Democrats throw their support behind Kevin McCarthy. Now, that's how democracy is supposed to work. That's how Tip O'Neill made things work in the Reagan administration. They horse traded.
Yeah, well,
I'll give you that. And then those 20 people that are the outcasts, those 20 people would be, for all practical purposes, they'd be neutered. They would have no power at all because the Democrats and the Republicans would have combined forces and collaborated to pass pieces of legislation, and they wouldn't have anything to say about it.
It sounds like the Israeli government.
And that's democracy. That's how democracy works.
Well, I think I mentioned to you in our past shows, I've been watching West Wing.
Oh, me too. I binge watched it over the holidays.
I've been binge watching it. And basically, you want to know, you don't have to agree with, that basically, when I hear them speaking, I picture this Aaron Sorkin, speaking, writing that script. But it gives you the way how legislation is done and how they horse trade.
Right.
And
that's the way it always was done up until Newt Gingrich. And he was the first guy to, kind of get away from that. And they began to demonize each other so that they were not, they weren't disagreeing. They were being disagreeable.
Well, they were being vindictive almost.
Yes.
I don't know if vindictive is a word, but nasty would be a word, but they started dealing in personalities versus
principles,
and versus what was good for the country.
Do you know how Kevin McCarthy got into trouble in 2015? Is when he said that that hearing on Hillary that they held against Hillary Clinton on the Benghazi was a witch hunt.
That didn't make friends in the Republican Party.
No, it did not. Because they were going to hang Hillary.
I expect with Jim Jordan that they're going to redo that committee. They're going to do everything aside from this legislation.
Someone said that one of those 21 people who were on the outside looking in, one of them wanted to become a chairman, wanted his own gavel and control of this committee to investigate Joe Biden's grandchildren. That's how far they were going to go with these things.
Well, what I'm worried about initially is if those 20 gain control of McCarthy, whether there'll be the surplus, where they have the bill, to raise the surplus.
Oh, the debt ceiling.
The debt ceiling. Whether
they'll have to make a deal with the Democrats.
That might never go through. They might.
And the country will go bankrupt.
Right. They might do that on principle.
So the Republicans will have to make some sort of deal with the Democrats.
Well, they wouldn't have to. We'd let them go into bankruptcy.
Well, they can't do that.
I don't know.
I don't think there are probably 20 crazies that would do that. And there might be another 50 Republicans that would like to see that the Democrats get blamed for bankrupting the country. But I don't think the majority of the Republican Party is that narrow-minded and naive to think that it would be a way of governing
I know, but the
biggest economy on the planet.
From what I understand, that with that, if one of them decide that they don't want to bring the bill to the floor, they have control. If McCarthy makes the concessions, they will have the control. They could say, we don't want the bill on the floor. And if the bill is not voted on, it won't be on the floor.
Well, they can't have that.
I don't know.
Then they wouldn't pass any legislation. They would,
Right.
what's the sense of being there?
To not pass the legislation because we're spending too much. But I remember back when you know who was president. He said, what difference is with the surplus is? Doesn't make a difference how much we owe. You remember that? I think, well, I'm saying his first year, he only had one term. But he thought that the amount of the debt was unimportant.
Who said
that? President Trump.
Oh, well, there's a whole, philosophy of economic theory called modern monetary theory that says, you can spend as much money as you want. Deficits don't matter. And in reality, deficits only matter in terms of inflation.
Well, it's how much interest they're paying on it.
Well, when the interest rates were 0.5 point, it didn't really matter. And Clinton proved that if you had a robust economy, you could pay off the debt.
Well, so wasn't Obama paying off the debt? It went down.
Under Bill Clinton, they had a balanced budget.
Yeah, but didn't Obama pay off part of the debt?
Some of it, not all.
No, not all of it, but a good few $100 million or $1 billion. I forget what it is. I mean, to me, they're all, it's all, paper money because I have no concept of it.
$1 billion here, $1 billion there. Right. Pretty soon you're talking about.
Well, that's what we're talking. Elon Musk lost, $180 billion, but he still has $140 billion left.
That's too bad.
Do you think it changed? You think it changed?
I really don't have a lot of sympathy for it.
You think it changed his lifestyle?
I doubt it. You can't spend that much money anyway.
Well, I'd like to try.
Yeah, well, I think we'd all would, but
well, as I say, money wouldn't change me at all. I'd still do my show with you.
Okay, fair enough.
Of course, I might take a few days off in between.
Okay.
But can you imagine losing 170 billion or 130 billion and still being the second richest man in the world?
No, I can't.
What a life. But anyway, so what's going to happen next? Are they, because there's I don't know. I think that they have to have an agreement. I forget how many reps have to agree to to rest for the evening. I'd like to see.
Well, they have to have a majority. 218 votes it takes to adjourn.
I'd like to see where they don't adjourn and they're forced to stay there.
Stay up all night.
Stay up all night, and like the old filibuster, where they stay up all night, all day, all night, all day until they agree upon something.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not give them food and do the Japanese water, Japanese, but the water torture. Have a Linky faucet drip.
I thought you were going to have them all waterboarded.
Have them all waterboarded. No, I like with the dripping faucet.
Okay. All right.
But it's a crazy world. You think by our next show we'll have some sort of agreement?
I think so.
Well, probably.
So the other thing, before we go off the air here, I'd like to just mention that today started out as a good day for the Ukrainians because the French offered to sell them tanks. Or not sell them tanks, give them tanks. And then later on this afternoon, the United States agreed to give them some tanks. And then after the U.S., Joe Biden called Germany, and Germany agreed to send them some tanks. So now the Ukrainians are going to have the ability to go on the offense, serious offense, with some heavy artillery and armor.
Well, that's that.
That was encouraging.
I don't think Putin ever envisioned something like this.
He has to be stopped, and he has to be stopped there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm just afraid that, with his maniacal approach, he would do something that, well, actually, if he did nuclear weapons, that would be the end of him. Because I think everybody would come with heavy equipment, but it might be,
yeah, heavier equipment.
Well, we haven't given them planes or the ability to attack inside Russia yet. Everything's almost defensive.
But they can fire missiles into Russia.
Yeah, but not as much. I think we're not as far. They don't have that sophisticated missiles that can, take them deep inside Russia. I don't know even to hit Moscow, and they're probably also given, warnings not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, are you looking forward to our shows in 2023?
Am I looking forward to what?
You're doing the shows in 2023 and talk about this? See what happens in the future?
We have to play out this Speaker of the House thing.
Well, hopefully by our next show, which will be next Thursday, which is a week, we'll have a speaker. But who knows?
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
I know, that's a problem.
And wouldn't it be great if the Democrats and the Republicans got together and made a deal and isolated these 20 arsonists who want to burn down the Capitol, and we had a way of going forward and actually governing and actually passing legislation that might be an advantage to us.
Well, as I say, from your mouth to God's ears. In the meantime, this is the first show of the new year, and it's still crazy. Hopefully, the rest of the year will get better.
Hopefully.
But it gives us a lot to talk about, which is encouraging.
Yes.
Anyway, hope you had a very happy new year. And I don't know if it's too late, but happy and healthy new year.
Thank you. You too, Malcolm.
And I'll speak to you next week.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Enjoy.